Badenoch skew Starmer, the income tax showdown at PMQs. Well, isn't this getting rather uncomfortable for number 10? Prime Minister's questions today turned into an absolute masterclass in political discomfort, with Kimi Badenoch systematically dismantling Keir Starmer's carefully constructed facade about tax rises. Before we dive into the carnage that unfolded at the dispatch box, do consider subscribing to UK Connors. We're bringing you the unvarnished truth about British politics. And trust me, you won't want to miss what's coming next. The scene was set from the very first question. Badenoch, razor-sharp and utterly unrelenting, asked the Prime Minister a devastatingly simple question. Does he still stand by Labour's manifesto pledge not to increase income tax, VAT, on national insurance? Now, this should have been a straightforward answer. Yes or no. One syllable would have sufficed. But what did we get instead? A masterclass in political evasion. Starmer replied that the budget is on November 26 and they'll lay out their plans then, promising to build a stronger economy. Notice what's conspicuously absent from that answer? The word yes. 4 months ago, when Badenoch asked precisely the same question, word for word, Starmer gave a one-word answer, yes. Then he sat down with what Badenoch described as a smug grin on his face. What's changed in 4 months? Well, apparently everything and nothing. The manifesto promises remain printed on glossy paper somewhere in Labour headquarters, but the political will to honour them seems to have evaporated faster than morning mist on the Thames. Badenoch wasn't finished, though. She pressed harder, pointing out the fascinating evolution of Starmer's position. The Tory leader quite brilliantly posted a video on X comparing Starmer's answers from July and today, creating a perfect visual representation of political backsliding in real time. The Prime Minister, cornered and clearly uncomfortable, fell back on the oldest trick in the political playbook: blame the previous government. He claimed the figures from the productivity review show the Tories did even more damage than previously thought. Convenient, isn't it? Every time Labour needs to justify breaking a promise, there's always some new revelation about how terrible things were before they arrived. It's almost as if they got an entire department dedicated to excavating reasons why they can't. The exchanges grew increasingly heated when Tory MP Mike would raise the deeply concerning issue of pensioners being dragged into the income tax net. He highlighted that from April, pensioners with private pensions as modest as £2 a month will be paying income tax for the first time, despite the triple lock. Would ask Starmer to guarantee there would be no extension to the freeze on personal allowances, a freeze that was introduced by the previous government but one that Labour's own Chancellor had previously described as breaching their manifesto commitment. Starmer's response? The freeze was introduced by them, so it's coming in next year anyway. Remarkable logic. Really, Labour opposed the policy when they were in opposition. But now they're in power, they are perfectly happy to implement it while simultaneously claiming it's not their fault. Badenoch then delivered what might have been the most damning assessment of the entire session. She accused Starmer of only knowing how to tax, claiming he's raising taxes because it's too weak to control spending. She pointed out that Labour has blamed the Tories, blamed the OBR, blamed Brexit, essentially everyone except themselves. With this Prime Minister, she argued, it's always someone else's fault. The truth in this observation is almost uncomfortable to acknowledge. We've seen this pattern repeatedly since Labour took office. Every difficult decision, every broken promise, every U-turn comes with a ready-made excuse pointing backwards rather than forwards. Starmer's response was predictable. The Tories were kicked out because they broke the economy and won't be trusted for years to come. It's a compelling argument, undoubtedly, but it rather conveniently sidesteps the question of what Labour is actually going to do beyond pointing fingers. The confrontation escalated when Badenoch raised the Employment Rights Bill, arguing that Starmer has caved to union demands with regulations that will cost businesses £5 billion every year. This prompted heckling from Labour MPs, which Badenoch brilliantly used to her advantage. She turned to the Labour benches and said she wanted every single business out there to hear Labour MPs heckling when discussing the damage being done to them. It was a masterstroke of parliamentary theatre, using her opponent's disruption to underscore her point about Labour's disconnect from business concerns. Starmer's comeback focused on the Tories' golden economic rule, mocking their £4 to £7 billion in unspecified spending cuts. Fair point, perhaps, but it doesn't answer the fundamental question about whether businesses can afford Labour's regulatory burden. Badenoch then extended an olive branch of sorts, offering to work cross-party with Labour to bring down welfare spending. It was a clever move, appearing constructive while simultaneously highlighting Labour's reluctance to tackle what many see as an unsustainable benefits bill. She pointed out that Starmer would rather dip into people's pockets than upset his backbenchers. The Prime Minister's response was to recite a litany of Tory failures: the crashed economy, 11% inflation, soaring mortgages, and the $33 billion increase in welfare spending under their watch. He then pivoted to claiming Labour's successes: falling waiting lists, rising wages, falling mortgage rates, and countries wanting to do deals with Britain. It's an interesting strategy: respond to questions about the future by relitigating the past whilst making claims about the present that many would dispute. The Tory leader also called for stamp duty to be axed, something her party has now pledged to do, arguing it would help young people onto the housing ladder and boost economic growth. Starmer's response was brutal in its simplicity: why didn't they do it in 14 years in office? It's a devastating retort, admittedly, and one that highlights a fundamental weakness in the Conservative position. After 14 years in government, the Tories are now promising to do things they could have done at any point during their lengthy tenure. Starmer then launched into a comprehensive indictment of Conservative economic management. Austerity damaged the economy. The botched Brexit deal damaged the economy. Liz Truss's mini-budget damaged the economy. Therefore, he concluded, Labour will take no lectures from the Tories on economic matters, and they won't be trusted on the economy for generations to come. Throughout this entire exchange, what's striking is what wasn't said. Starmer repeatedly refused to rule out extending the freeze on personal allowances. He wouldn't confirm that income tax, VAT, or national insurance won't rise. He declined to provide any specific reassurance about the tax burden facing ordinary Britons. Instead, we got platitudes about building a stronger economy, cutting NHS waiting lists, and delivering a better future. These are fine aspirations, certainly, but they are not answers to direct questions about taxation. The speculation now is that Chancellor Rachel Reeves faces having to plug a new £50 billion black hole in public finances, with the OBI expected to downgrade productivity growth expectations. Financial experts suggest Reeves may need to find $50 billion in tax rises and spending cuts to meet her fiscal rules. That's not a trivial sum. That's the kind of number that requires breaking manifesto promises.